Podcast preseason. The mayor being joined by the CEO, being joined by the bearded bulldog himself. What's up? What's popping, everyone? This is the Sports Wars Podcast. We are here towards the end of July, going into August, and I guess you consider this our training camp preseason preliminary preparation for the NFL season. I know we're all juiced, we're all jazzed, we're all pumped and ready to go. As you can see, we are being joined by the CEO and owner of Geese and Gamers, Mr. I don't even know what to currently describe you as, bro, because you're pissing everybody off pretty much.
That's what happens, man. It's what happens when you walk around with above average penis and 175,000 subs on YouTube. So don't bring that whole black man stuff into this. All right, bro? I mean, you see my hair? I'm pretty much a brother as it is, okay? So, I'm good. But that's so untrue in so many ways. And for you to start this off with that shit, trying to bring that over here, all right, folks, so that was a good podcast. We're done. Nah, I'm just playing. And of course, we're also being joined by my right-hand man, the bearded bulldog himself, Roy Morgan. How are you guys doing tonight?
Man, I'm ready for football season. I'm already trying to stretch so I don't pull anything like AJ Green.
Yeah. We're going to get into all of that in coming weeks. In any case, like I mentioned before, preseason is going to be starting very soon. A lot of moving parts, obviously, in this particular part of the year, particularly from the standpoint of coaching staffs, GMs, trying to get a solid and reliable 53-man roster established to move on into the season and do so at a functional level, hopefully. However, it's 2019. This is not 1985, where everyone just takes what's given to them like kids in a line at a cafeteria. Some guys know their value. Some guys have unrealistic views of their value, but all guys want to get paid, okay? We are in the get the bag era. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money, dollar bill, y'all. With that being said and understood, we have a few notable holdouts throughout the league, primarily in the form of Ezekiel Elliott of the Dallas Cowboys, Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints. Just chill out, Roy. And last but not least, Melvin Gordon of the Los Angeles, we're going to get that right this time, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Still weird, man. It's still so weird.
Yeah.
It's never not going to be weird, and they play in a soccer stadium.
Yep.
In any case, yeah, no particular order, however you feel obligated. How are we feeling about these three holdouts in general? Let's start with Jeremy, since we haven't heard from him in a while.
Well, obviously, Ezekiel Elliott is going to dominate the headlines in this department because, he's arguably the best running back in the NFL, at least from a statistical standpoint. And he plays for the Dallas Cowboys, so that's going to dominate the headlines. I think Michael Thomas clearly has the best case here, all things considered with what his contract is and everything. Melvin Gordon's being offered what wasn't he? Is he asking for 13? I think the rumors they offered him like 10 or 11 million. So I think Michael Thomas definitely has the best case in my opinion. Gordon, he's a good running back. I don't know if he is top tier enough to request that type of money, but he's clearly, he's going to negotiate the best he can, and more power to him. Ezekiel Elliott, like I said, he's going to dominate the headlines. I'm one of the people that believes that Ezekiel Elliott is definitely a talented running back, but I believe that his offensive line is the reason he's leading the league in rushing every year. And I don't believe you could put any running back there, but I do believe you could put any talented running back there, any 6 or 7 or 8 running backs back there that would probably nearly equal what he's doing. So that's my take on it. Right now, I think Michael Thomas definitely has the best case considering where he's at.
Okay. Roy?
I don't disagree. I think and I do agree that Thomas is probably in the best position to negotiate. Zeke still got 2 years left on his deal. And he didn't report again today, and it's kind of not looking good because apparently he's in Mexico. Like he's not even in the United States waiting on a deal to get done.
Well, Jerry Jones even said, didn't he say you can win a Super Bowl without a top tier running back or something like that. So
yeah, so I mean it's not looking good for Zeke. But I mean he's got 2 years left. Running back. I listened to a very interesting conversation the other day about from Colin Cowherd, pretty much saying he wouldn't give any running back a big contract because running backs get what? They're drafted at 21, 22, first round pick, 5 years. By the time they're up to that first contract, they're pretty much used up. And so you wouldn't give a running back any big contract. Melvin Gordon's only played 16 games once in his career. He's only got over 1,000 yards once in his career. I don't know that I would pay Gordon. Zeke has, like I said, Zeke's got a case just because, I mean, like you said, he's arguably been, if not the best, at the very least top 3 running back in the league since he came in, up there with Gurley and now Saquon Barkley. But, I mean, Gurley didn't do Zeke any favors by going down, and now they're saying he's got an arthritic knee. Thomas, man, this isn't just the Falcons fan in me talking here. I would want to see what Thomas does without Drew Brees before I pay him anything. I would give him a 1 year kind of prove it deal, 15, 16, 17 million. Honestly, I would probably franchise him. I would franchise him this season just to see. Because, I mean, how many of these guys? I mean, Ted Ginn looked like a fucking Pro Bowl receiver with Drew Brees throwing the passes to him. And so, I mean, I would pay Zeke before I paid anybody else. But I'd pay Thomas before I paid Gordon.
See, I'm kind of on Colin Cowherd's side where I just don't. I don't think Dak is going to be. I don't think Dak is all that. But I do think he, in that particular environment with that offensive line, I think they should pay the offensive line. Focus on continuing to develop that. If Zeke wants to ask for all this money, that's fine. You can put a decent running back there. He's not going to quite match what Ezekiel Elliott is doing, but he's definitely still going to be able to produce and produce very well. If you can save all that money and continue to shore up that offensive line, that's the long-term answer for me.
I still think, though, if Dak has been what he's been because of Zeke in that offensive line. If you take Zeke out, I think Dak gets exposed.
Possibly.
Okay. I definitely get where both you guys are coming from in terms of these 3 individuals being the most prominent in terms of his current holdout situation, because Le'Veon Bell obviously ended his 1 year saga. I have a low tier, mid tier, and high tier in terms of which player has the most leverage, and also how this is going to boil over in the locker room, how it's going to be perceived by his peers, by the guys he has to go to work with and go to war with on Sundays. So in terms of high tier leverage, I think it's pretty obvious Michael Thomas of the Saints has the most, because within that passing game, it's Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and fill in the blank, a bunch of guys out of the yellow pages. I mean, you mentioned Ted Ginn a second ago. Journeyman, I mean, I remember when Ted Ginn was with the Panthers. I remember when he was with the 49ers. He's been all over the place.
Didn't the Saints, like 2 years ago, have a guy who was, like, driving a beer truck 2 weeks before and he got 100 yards in a game? Like, that's one of the reasons why I would be a little hesitant to pay Thomas. I mean, Gordon, from what I understand with Gordon, is he's a really good locker room guy. So his teammates love it.
But have you seen Thomas's contract is awful.
He was a second or third round pick.
I know. I understand that.
Getting to that.
Yeah.
In any case, so yeah, what he does and the type of player he is. Now, granted, is he a down the field deep threat burner? No. But the way that he runs his routes, how he gets open, arguably the surest hands in the league. Like, he's too much of a producer for them to do play with, particularly as Drew Brees is getting older, and you could make a legitimate argument that his arm strength after about week 10 or 11 starting to get up there. In terms of mid-tier leverage, because we just went high, now we're going to mid, I'm going to go ahead and put Melvin Gordon at mid simply because the Chargers' backup running backs, there's a pretty decent discrepancy in terms of talent going from Gordon to the guys who are backing him up. And two, everyone who talks to you about Melvin Gordon in terms of the personality and just his presence within the locker room, team morale, which for the Chargers is already probably in kind of a questionable place because they always get right on the cusp of doing something great and then fall short. If he's not around because those owners continue to be cheap like we all know them to be, morale's going to be fucked up in that locker room. And considering the fact that they play in a soccer stadium, and when the Las Vegas Gruden show up, those fans take up 80% of it. You need that team to have as much morale as they can get, bar none. Now that brings us to my rant section, the low tier leverage situation. Ezekiel Elliott, bruh. What do you have going on between the ears here? Because I look at this situation and look at the ins and outs and the nuance of it, and I get the impression that you have nothing but hot air between ears. How many fucking times has this kid been in trouble? He's already gone through, what was it, a 4, 5, 6 game suspension? And
he's an idiot.
Jerry Jones continues to be loyal to him, continues to stick by him, continues to say, oh, well, yeah, Ezekiel, he has his issues and blah, 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 blah. I'm still loyal to my players like I've been since forever. But now you have a situation where the guy is 2 years away from his contract ending, and he is essentially jumping in line to get paid when Dak Prescott hasn't gotten paid, and Amari Cooper hasn't gotten paid, and Jalen Smith hasn't gotten paid, and DeMarcus Lawrence hasn't gotten paid, and Byron Jones hasn't gotten paid.
He's been like this forever, man. He's an idiot. He's a complete idiot. He's not right in the head. He's an idiot. He's fucking stuck in his own mind. I mean, what hasn't he? He's led the league in rushing the last 3 years now. Well,
see, here's the other element of why I don't like him in the context of this particular situation. If you look at the amount of passes that running backs have caught within modern offensive schemes in the last, just take a sample size of the last 4 years. Think about Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman before he went to San Francisco. Think about James White, don't kill me, Roy, in New England. Think about Todd Gurley when healthy. If you are a running back who can catch behind an offensive line like Jeremy was speaking of a second ago, you can produce and do well. I'm not saying that Zeke isn't a superstar talent, because he is. Physically, like he's the hybrid, the other guy being Todd Gurley, of the bell cow back and also the guy who's quick enough and can catch and can legitimately run routes like he's a receiver. So it's a fucked up situation that someone who is as foundationally important to the Cowboys as he is doing this because, okay, well, dude, if you cut in line and they pay you an exorbitant amount of money, all these other pieces that legitimately have the Cowboys in a position to do something for the first time in God knows how long, all of that is going to get messed up. So do you want to win, or do you just want to make it rain? Which one is it going to be? Because you can't always have it both ways. There are plenty of guys who are getting paid who know that their teams aren't going to be shit.
I've seen some of the Zeke Elliott TMZ tapes. He absolutely wants to make it rain. So,
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel about the Cowboys like I feel about the New York Knicks and the LA Lakers and the NBA. I think football's better when the Cowboys are relevant. I hate the Cowboys, but I like seeing the Cowboys relevant because it brings excitement, to the playoffs if they're in it, because they're so pulverizing, they're so popular.
When did you start hating Cowboys? I thought you were kind of indifferent to them. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, I just don't care. You know what I mean? So I don't care. I don't hate them like I hate the Packers, or Aaron Rodgers. I don't have that much of anger towards them. I enjoy seeing them fail in big moments because their fans are so, insane. But yeah, like I said, I am indifferent about them to the point that I do like to see them succeed because of what it brings to the table when they're in. Like, I really wanted to see the Patriots versus the Patriots versus the Cowboys, because I think that is, outside of me being a Patriots fan, like the Cowboys versus Patriots, you can't really. That's it. That's the two most. That's the two most.
When in particular did you want to see that?
I wanted to see it. Was it last year that they make the playoffs, or was it the year before that the Cowboys made the playoffs?
They've been making the playoffs.
Huh?
They've won the division out of the last 3 years.
I don't even remember what happened with the Cowboys last year. How did they get eliminated?
By the Rams.
Okay, so I believe so. Either way, I mean, I've been wanting to see a Patriots-Cowboys Super Bowl for the last few years, just because that would be incredible. I've also wanted to see Drew Brees versus Brady, because I think that would be, a really attractive, Super Bowl from a legacy.
I think both those matchups would have been trash. New England winning like 14-7 or something.
Hold on now, I mean, from a game standpoint, I think New England and Dallas would be probably trash. But from a entertainment perspective, the build-up, because the Super Bowl is all about that build-up to that 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So from a marketing standpoint, from a hype standpoint, I think Cowboys versus Patriots would just be insane.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now Breeze versus Brady. That would be damn good. That'd be damn good. It'd be better than.
The city of New Orleans is still trying to arrange that.
Well, it'd be slightly better than this than watching the.
If you fucking do it.
Slightly better version of Andy Dalton versus Tom Brady a few years ago. Matt Ryan, Matty Ice,
MVP.
Well, Matt Ryan has arm strength past week 11.
Not past the third quarter in the Super Bowl, though.
Couldn't help.
Yeah, Nick Foles has arm strength too. Moving right along, folks. This is where things are going to get nitty gritty. All right, because for the next few weeks we're going to be rattling off some division predictions, and in typical Pat and Roy fashion, Jeremy just happens to be along for the ride this time. We're going to be starting in the Superior Conference, the more dynamic and interesting conference, which is, of course, the NFC. And tonight we're going to be focusing on the West and the East, all right? Opposite sides of the country. Legitimately interesting things taking place in both of these divisions. Some newcomers, some new faces, and also some individuals who are still around to the chagrin of a lot of individuals involved. Now, starting with the NFC West, obviously you have the defending conference champion in the form of the Rams. You have a Seahawks team that has paid Russell Wilson and Bobby Wagner and has had a pretty solid draft, but still has a lot of fresh faces who don't have a ton of experience. You have a San Francisco team with their starting quarterback coming back to hopefully remain healthy for a full 16 games for literally the first time in his career. You have a power dynamic between Shanahan and Lynch. George Kittle's a standout tight end. Little bit of uncertainty in the secondary outside of Richard Sherman. However, up front, Nick Bosa and Dee Ford, along with DeForest Buckner, are going to be very serious in the pass rush. And most notably of all, Kyler Murray. Fresh face, new starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, a team that doesn't have a ton of dynamic playmakers all over the roster. But, I mean, obviously you got one of the best corners in Patrick Peterson, have a great pass rusher in Chandler Jones, and, Duke Johnson, really talented running back. And, of course, we would be remiss not to mention the future Hall of Famer, the great Larry Fitz. Overall thoughts, feelings about the NFC West as it stands, how you think it's going to go, and division winners and losers. Jeremy?
I think everybody here is going to say that the Rams are the favorite to win. I don't think that's going to be disputable at this point. After their run last year, I don't know how you doubt Sean McVay and that team. So I do believe that the Rams are potentially the Rams and the Chiefs. We all remember that game last year, that regular season game. And I do think that they're one of the teams that are going to be the future of the NFL. You know what I mean? As we continue to move past, Brady and Rodgers, they're towards the end of their careers. So we're moving past those guys. So this is one of those teams that I think is going to be in the playoff picture, in the hunt for the Super Bowl every single year or every other year. I have no doubts about, the Rams this year. My questions are going to be – my biggest question about this division is the 49ers. I want to see what happens with Garoppolo. I want to see – I don't know what to think about Jimmy Garoppolo.
I mean, he's handsome.
Yeah, and
that's it.
Let's talk about that. Okay, if he looked like Nick Foles, no fucking body would want him. You know what I mean? Nobody would want this dude. Like he's I don't know why he's so he's such a hot commodity. Everybody was like, I mean, the dude, his numbers weren't that good in New England, when he filled in for Brady, but I mean, he's like Mr. Movie Star, you know what I mean? And he's just like, I mean, all right, so Roy Shanahan, do you believe in Shanahan?
Yes.
Okay, and I think a lot of people believe in Shanahan. So, and some people think Shanahan might be one of the future, top tier coaches, on a consistent basis. If Jimmy G doesn't do something this year, I'm going to be interested to see how the media spins it. You know what I mean? I'm very interested to see, because they have determined that he is like the next megastar. And I don't understand why. I don't get it. Well, I mean, I do. It's that he has the look. He has the marketing look that they want. And I guess that just works for them. But he hasn't done anything on the field to show me that he is the next great quarterback like the media has presented him. Do either one of you guys agree or disagree with that?
I don't disagree at all. Jimmy's played – he's played 26 total games his career. He started 10. In 5 years, he started 10 games. Now his record in those 10 games is 8-2. So they've got a little bit of a reason. They got super excited in San Francisco because that first year he was there, he went 5-0.
Right.
But he went 5-0 with 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions.
Exactly.
So it was basically you see it happen all the time, man. You see a rookie quarterback like Dak Prescott that comes in. Now, not saying Jimmy's a rookie, but you see a guy come in with no film on him and starts lighting the shit up. And teams were unprepared. I mean, he got traded to San Francisco, I think it was at the deadline. And teams have been preparing for – who was their fucking quarterback? C.J. Beathard or somebody?
Yes.
Teams have been preparing for him all season, and then all of a sudden you've got, a completely different guy coming in. I do think San Francisco is going to be improved. They were 4-12 last year or something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
But and Jimmy G, Garoppolo was only 1-2 as a starter.
Right.
So I mean,
yeah. Jeremy, any thoughts on Seattle and/or Washington?
Oh shit, we know what his thoughts on Seattle are.
I think Seattle's going to have a good year. I think I do not think that they can win the division from Los Angeles, And I've been a long time critic of Russell Wilson, as you're going to remind me and everybody here. So I'm going to go ahead get ahead of that. But Russell Wilson has definitely stepped out of the shadow from the Legion of Boom and shown that he is definitely I would say. He's definitely a top 10 quarterback. Some people want to try to flirt with that top 5 quarterback. Where do you put him, Pat? You have him like number 1 at this point?
No, not by any means.
Definitely top 10. I can't go top 5.
I would go ahead and put him top 5, honestly.
Okay.
I would put him in top 5 before I put Mahomes there. Like Mahomes had a great year, but he still only had 1 year. Wilson has a more complete body of work at this point because he's been around for a little while.
I agree with that. So I do think that Seattle is going to have a decent year. I'm thinking, a 10-6 year or something like that is definitely on par for them. I want to know, I don't know why I feel this way. I feel like Pete Carroll, I don't have anything to base this on. I just feel like Pete Carroll might be checking out just maybe his last few years. You know what I mean? Just like maybe the Rams are going to dominate this division based on everything I see for the next 5 to 7 to 8 years. They just are. They're looking at they're going to dominate this division. I just have a feeling that Pete Carroll, and again, maybe it's just because of how he handled USC. Once USC started to fall from grace, he kind of jumped out of town, and I just have that feeling that he would do it again. It's kind of like the same thing with Nick Saban. Like, even people still think Saban's going to leave Alabama based on what happened with Miami. So maybe it's unfair for me to pin that on Pete Carroll, but that's just how I feel. But yeah, and then the Cardinals. I mean, Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray might be the fastest quarterback I've ever seen, but his height is going to be a problem in the NFL.
There was this guy in Atlanta.
I think Kyler Murray's faster than Vic, dude. I don't think he's a better running. I don't think he's a better running quarterback than Vic, but just straight up speed. What did he run in the 40? Because I don't know. What did he run in the 40?
Boy.
Kyler Murray, dude, that dude was so fast. So fast in college. I mean
it's easy to be pretty fast when you're like 6 inches off the ground.
Yeah, but I think the Cardinals it'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how Kyler Murray fares with the Cardinals, but I absolutely have no faith in them doing anything other than, I don't know, winning 4 games maybe. You know what I mean? So okay. I don't see them doing anything beyond that. Plus, they've got don't they have a new coach this year, Cliff Kingsbury? So
yeah,
a guy who didn't have a single winning season in college.
Yeah, so I don't see anything great happening there. But they can, this will be an opportunity for the Cardinals to see if Kyler Murray is their guy, and he won't have expectations to win football games necessarily. He won't have expectations to make the playoffs. He just needs to show if he can be an NFL quarterback. That's really all he needs to do this year. So at least he doesn't have that pressure on him. But ultimately, the Rams, I believe, are going to run away with this division. I think Seattle's going to have a good year. I think San Francisco is a complete wild card. I think they're completely unknown. We do not know what they're going to do. And the Cardinals this is a rebuilding year for them.
Okay,
Roy, your overall thoughts.
Well, as far as I've actually been looking up for the 40 time, Murray did not run the 40 at the combine or his pro day.
Okay, wonder why.
I think the combine he was hurt.
Yeah, I remember all of it now.
I think the combine he was hurt. But as far as my predictions for the West, I think everybody kind of takes a step back, man. I don't think the Rams are going to go 13-3. After watching that Super Bowl and watching how Goff kind of performed, I would not be surprised if the Rams dropped to 9-7 or 10-6. I think Goff got a really bad case of the yips. He looked like the moment completely swallowed him up. 3 points. They scored 3 points the entire game. He couldn't sneeze and get to the end zone with the best offensive coordinator or best offensive-minded head coach in the game. He had – Gurley wasn't the same. We know that. Rumor is Gurley's got an arthritic knee, so it's going downhill. He's got Cooper Kupp. He's got Brandon Cooks. He's got
Cooper Kupp was hurt.
Cooper Kupp was hurt, yeah. But I still think they win the division at 10-6.
I think a lot of respect for Seattle.
No, I think Seattle probably goes 9-7, 10-6. I can see them as a wild card team. San Francisco, I think, improves to maybe 6-10, 7-9. Arizona is going to be shit. Arizona does not have their defense is shit. They just cut their former first round pick because the rumor is he showed up to camp overweight. Robert Nkemdiche, the former Ole Miss defensive line, like superstar at Ole Miss.
Yep.
That they were allegedly paying for.
Oh yeah, I remember all that. I remember the year that I remember they beat Bama. I remember that.
So The whole time, Ole Miss fans talking shit about old Nick Saban's paying players, and Ole Miss was doing the exact same.
Hey, spoiler alert! All colleges pay players, all of them, all prominent.
There's shit going on at Ole Miss that we can't even touch on in this venue. So
I think Arizona is Arizona's going to be in a running for the number 1 pick. I think they're going to go 1-15, 2-14. The only redeeming qualities on that team.
Hot take.
Yeah, the only redeeming qualities on that team is of course, Fitz is still there. If they don't try to trade Fitz at the deadline to a team that could get him a ring, I'm going to be pissed. Just because this team is going to be shit. Fitz will never request a trade because he's just that kind of guy. He's a good dude. I like the other wide receiver that they just drafted last year, Christian Kirk, who they were super confident that they were going to pair him with Josh Rosen. Kyler Murray, I don't think he's built to take the beating that he's going to take. That offensive line is shit. They play the Rams twice a year. Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is going to pick up that little leprechaun and stuff him in his shirt. Like, dude, Aaron Donald. Like,
hey,
Aaron Donald.
Like, hey, man, I mean, technically, Aaron Donald is underhyped for his position too. So
Aaron Donald is underhyped for like football. Period. Like, if you name top 3 in the league, if Aaron Donald isn't in that top 3, you're looking at football wrong. Like, the dude is.
I will not argue if somebody says he's the best football player in the league over.
I won't either.
I wouldn't argue it because the dude's just unbelievable.
Have either one of y'all seen that workout that they posted on like YouTube of his 300+ pound ass doing like running back drills and shit?
Oh, he's athletically, the dude's just a monster. He's a complete beast.
So Kyler Murray gets to see Aaron Donald twice a year. He gets to see who's the linebacker that the Chiefs just traded to the Seahawks.
D Ford.
He gets to see Ford twice a year. He gets to see the Bosa's little brother.
Wait, you're talking about no, I'm tripping. D Ford went to the 49ers.
Oh shit, even better. He gets to see D Ford and Nick Bosa twice a fucking year.
Right. I know the guy who went to Seattle you're talking about. Just his name is escaping me right now.
Clark.
Yeah.
Clark's in Seattle. Bobby Wagner's in Seattle. Good fucking luck, dude. Like, his only hope is that he's so small that they can't fucking see him. That's his only hope. I mean,
yeah. Well, to round out my thoughts, I do believe the Rams are going to take it. Now, do they have a propensity to maybe take a bit of a step back this year, facing a first place schedule, all that good stuff?
Super Bowl hangover.
However, and I'm going to bring this up again, Eric Weddle coming over from Baltimore to mentor John Johnson III, that could be a huge return on the investment. Because John Johnson has all of the physical tools to end up being mentioned with Earl Thomas and all those kinds of guys, just a pure free safety, just commander of the middle of the field. And Roy, to your point on our show a few weeks ago, you guys know I'm not huge on Clay Matthews at this stage, but bringing him in a limited snap capacity, that could be significant. So just from a roster standpoint, secondary with Talib and Peters, pass rush, even if the offense does sputter, I have a hard time seeing the Rams not take it. Seattle is very much in a too good to fail, but not quite good enough to be great place. Like, outside of the major names that we mentioned, the roster is. They basically just had a superstar draft.
I'm saying that's another
money.
That's another gripe that I have about like the entire NFC West. Besides the Rams, the Rams are the only people that bring people in. Who is Russell throwing to?
DK Metcalf.
We hope that the
dude
who ran a slower. I'm saying the dude that ran a slower 3-cone drill than Tom Brady. Like,
true, but I mean, aside from the Rams, like, what superstar secondaries are they going?
He is less mobile than Tom Brady.
Okay,
can run in a
that's
straight
a bit
line.
of a stretch.
He
all
can
right?
run in a straight line.
That's a bit of a stretch.
But he can't go side to side.
Why you got to bring Brady into it? Why you got to bring Brady into it? You may bring that slightly better version of Andy Dalton into it, huh?
A lot better version. Yeah. A lot better version. The fact that Tom Brady can't go side to side doesn't hurt anything at quarterback. But if you're a wide receiver trying to run,
because he's a goddamn goat. Just want to make that clear.
Down, boy, down.
Just make it clear. Just make it clear. Shout out.
San Francisco.
Something else.
Hot take alert. I think Nick Mullins is a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. In terms of just straight up fundamentals and durability, like we've seen Jimmy G get hurt twice now when he was in a prominent starting role. At what point do we?
All you need is Belichick got rid of him.
3 times.
If he was as good as everybody thinks he is, Belichick would have not gotten rid of him.
Belichick didn't want to get rid of him.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, dude, that's the story. Belichick didn't want to get rid of him.
Are you buying into that whole Robert Kraft getting involved crap?
Yeah.
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah, it's been confirmed.
No, it has not. Belichick, Kraft does not interfere with football operations. Do you know how many?
Before you go off on your whole tangent, all I'm going to say is this. Belichick wanted that guy to be the heir apparent. And Belichick, we know him to not be a sentimental dude at all. You can do all this winning, Richard Seymour, Randy Moss, blah, 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 blah. He'll get rid of you before your time is up.
Lawyer Malloy, Ty Law.
And we look up under dubious circumstances, and the dude is being traded to fucking San Francisco just out of nowhere. In any case.
It was before the deadline.
Okay, so?
Belichick had to make something happen. They were in a corner. They had to make something happen.
All I'm saying is, from the outside looking in, I'm not proclaiming to know. All I'm saying is the shit looks funny. All right. I mean, when you take your New England goggles off, the shit looks funny.
What I'm saying is, the guy you've seen in San Francisco, what does that guy look like? Does that look like the heir apparent to Tom Brady? It looks like an average, below average, possibly quarterback that got a lot of hype because he has the supermodel looks.
That's what I'm saying.
Motherfucker looked like Nick Foles, and nobody would have been saying he was an heir apparent.
First off, I'm not LaRock. I could give a shit less what homie looks like.
I understand that, but the media cares what he looks like, and you know it.
But to hear New England fans 5 years ago, Jimmy G was that dude.
I never said that.
But you're not a New England fan. You're a Brady fan.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
So there's a difference.
I'm objective about it.
And I think Arizona is going to come in last.
All right, we have to move on fast
because
we still got a whole other division to talk about. So, fuck
Tom Brady. Speaking of which,
Roy, fuck Tom Brady. Go ahead and say it.
Fuck Tom Brady. I usually close the show with that one.
Now, to go across country, the NFC East. This is not the same situation as the West by any stretch of the imagination. You have the Philadelphia Eagles, and more specifically, you have General Manager Howie Roseman. This man legitimately needs to start, not in terms of legacy in general, but as of right now. This man legitimately needs to be in the same conversation as Belichick in terms of the roster that he has created, the talent that he has put together that lends itself directly to the scheme that the Philadelphia Eagles run. You go out and you get Malik Jackson to add to a defensive line with Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. You bring back Vinnie Curry. You sign a veteran Orlando Scandrick to go into a secondary that has probably more depth than anyone. Jones, Douglas, Jenkins, all those guys. Someone gets hurt, another guy's going to be right back in the mix. Now, with that being said and understood, not quite to the same extent, but you have the Cowboys that have put together a really solid roster as well. Obviously, they have a great O-line. They have tremendous defensive talent like Byron Jones, Jalen Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence. What's that one linebacker kid, Van Der Esch, who's more or less Sean Lee's replacement. However, this situation with Zeke does cause me some pause in terms of their offensive capabilities. But as I mentioned, this is not a similar situation. This division is a two-horse race because the Redskins and the Giants just no, not at all. Roy, what are your overall feelings?
I'm not nearly as sold on the Eagles as you are, just because Wentz hasn't – he's had one healthy year since he's been a pro. They, of course, brought in Jordan Howard, but wasn't Jay Ajayi a Pro Bowl running back before they brought him in? And he fell off. Their wide receiving core is Alshon Jeffrey?
It's Jeffrey and Jackson, and now with Gronk gone, I'd say the best tight end in the league in Ernst.
I mean, Alor. I mean, I still like. I want to put an asterisk by this because I think if the Cowboys can get their shit together with Zeke, I think the Cowboys easily win this division, 11-5. With the Philly going 10-6, maybe 9-7, missing the playoffs. Just because I'm not sold on Wentz, man. And the Philly got a lot of press last year. I know you brought up Malik Jackson. They got everybody was super pumped when they brought in Michael Bennett, and he fell flat on his face. So I don't see Philly's bringing in a lot of I don't know. I think as far as GM credit, I got to give Jerry Jones credit. I was just looking at it earlier. They got Zeke, Jalen Smith, and Dak Prescott in the same draft.
That's pretty tremendous.
So, I mean, Zeke was a first-round, obviously the first-round pick. Jalen would have been a first-round pick if he hadn't blown his knee out his last game at Notre Dame. And then he snuck Dak in his last pick in the fourth round. So, I mean, that's 3 starters, and 2 of them after the first round. So, I do agree with you with Washington and the Giants. I wonder how long – I wonder what the over-under is on Eli, how many games Eli starts before they're calling for Eli Light to come in, because that's what the kid looks like. Eli that shit I saw on Facebook, Daniel Jones – looks like the actor they would pick to play Eli Manning in a movie about Peyton Manning. So, so that's who the new quarterback for the Giants looks like. So, Washington, Haskins is probably going to start the year, or no, Keenum's going to start, and then Haskins is going to come in. Although I do think, kind of a hot take, I think 2 coaches in that division are coaching for their jobs this year. If it doesn't go well, they're fucking out. And that's Gruden and Garrett. If Garrett misses the playoffs, he's fucking done.
Garrett done every year. I mean, I don't know how this dude does his job, man.
Because what he does.
Jason Garrett is the why am I drawing a blank now? Oh, the white Marvin Lewis. All right, that's what he is. He's the white how do you keep your job? How?
Jeff Fisher 2.0.
Just a quick side note. Obviously, all of us are very entrenched within sports media on a day-to-day basis. Roy and I, for information, Jeremy, so that he can find something to, be Jeremy about. How insane is it that Marvin Lewis was finally let go? Not a peep.
Nothing.
I mean, I understand that it's Cincinnati, one of the 2 teams in the league that I legitimately can't find anything interesting about, the other being Washington. But still, that's
the
crazy.
Black hole of football. Yeah. It's just like
under the radar. But anyway,
I mean, they've been to the playoffs, and they're still the second most interesting team in Cleveland, in Ohio. Like, in the last 15 years, like, Cincinnati has been – I mean, that's one of the reasons Lewis kept his job, and he was in the playoffs quite a bit. But even when they were winning the division, they were still the second most interesting football team in Ohio. Third, if we're bringing fucking college into it. I mean, if we're bringing Ohio State into it, like holy shit. Like
the Ohio State University. Notice how they always emphasize the Ohio State University.
Oh, yeah.
because it's the only part of it they can spell.
God damn. Jeremy, your thoughts, feelings, machinations about the NFC East, if any,
The NFC,
aside from post-traumatic stress disorder from a certain someone.
yeah, the NFC East is usually the most interesting division every year.
And this was great. It's the funnest, most boring. Like it's because every team they're all packed in together.
Yeah,
But it's all fucking mediocre football. Like Dallas went 10-6 last year. Like what the fuck? I mean,
the Giants definitely usually, especially the last several years with Beckham, have regardless if they were contenders, were definitely an interesting team to pay attention to. They don't have that this year. They do have Saquon Barkley, which he's going to be great, but I just think the Giants they're not going to be good this year.
they're going to run the wheels off that poor bastard.
Oh yes, they are. I think the Redskins. Honestly, I don't know anything about the Redskins this year. I don't know anything. I don't know. I don't even know who their starting quarterback is. Who's your starting quarterback?
Case Keenum.
Keenum.
So I mean,
well,
Minneapolis
least
Miracle Kid.
At this present time, because they also drafted Dwayne Haskins in the first round.
Right. Yeah. So
he'll be the starter for 2 preseason games.
Jeremy, all you need to know is that their defensive talent is slightly better than the Giants, but that's not exactly a high watermark. But please continue.
Yeah, but so obviously it's a 2-horse race with the Cowboys and the Eagles. The Cowboys have a really tough schedule this year. I mean, they've got a pretty tough schedule. They face 6 playoff teams from last year. Plus, they've got to face the Patriots, the Rams, and the Saints. It's tough with all of the nonsense going on with Zeke. It's kind of a dark cloud over them right now that they're trying to figure out. I don't think losing Zeke is going to be a devastating blow as much as it would seem, but it will hurt them, and it's a distraction. And he is such a big personality that will clearly affect them depending on what happens. I don't think Dak Prescott can carry a team on his back, but with that offensive line, it can mask a lot of Dak's shortcomings as a quarterback. I think Dallas is going to be fine this year. The Eagles. If you tell me Carson Wentz is going to be healthy all year, I think the Eagles are potentially a Super Bowl contender. But I don't know if
would you take the bet that Carson Wentz is going to be healthy all year?
No, I wouldn't. I think Carson Wentz is a great talent. I think he's really exciting to watch, and I think he's a really, really has a lot of potential to be a great quarterback. I just, for some reason, I don't have confidence in his ability to stay healthy.
I got a hot take for you.
But you can't make predictions based on if somebody doesn't get hurt type thing. So at the end of the day, looking at the Eagles, how they are with Carson Wentz coming back, being healthy with no quarterback controversy, with Nick Foles being there, with Doug Peterson as your head coach, they've got a good receiving core. I think the Eagles are poised to be a contender for the NFC Championship game this year. Again, I just put the caveat there, as long as Carson Wentz stays healthy, and that is a concern. I think it's a valid concern. So, I think, but it's still a 2-horse race with the Eagles and the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are going to make it interesting.
The problem is like they've had the safety blanket the last 2 years, Nick Foles. You know what Carson Wentz's record as a starter was last year?
What was it?
5-6.
Yeah.
Nick Foles was 4-1. They made the playoffs because of Nick Foles, and now he's not there.
Yep.
That's what worries me. Is even if Wentz doesn't come out, what is he? I mean, was he fully healthy last year? Was he not? It's hard to tell. Now to the Cowboys, Pat's is going to trip Pat out. I think Dak Prescott is a slightly more interesting Kirk Cousins.
Don't be taking my jokes. Don't be taking my jokes.
Wait, what jokes? I've been bagging on Kirk Cousins forever.
No. I came up with the slightly better version of Andy Dalton, and you're trying to.
Oh, you don't have that shit copyrighted, motherfucker. Get the fuck out of here.
That shit. I copyrighted that.
I've been bagging on Kirk Cousins for how long now? Like 2 years. It's been a while.
I've been ragging on. I've been ragging on
Jeremy.
You've been ragging on him if we could have fucking held the league. God,
Jeremy.
Exactly.
Jeremy, love you to death, but in terms of who spat the more vicious bars, this man in Georgia said that Kirk Cousins was diet water.
Kirk Cousins is the.
Sorry,
if Kirk Cousins is the missionary position of quarterbacks, then Dak is like, I don't know. He's like not diet water. He's like he's like the LaCroix that it's like if somebody like
is he the whiter version of Vanilla Ice? Is that what he is? Is he the whiter version?
Kirk Cousins? I mean, dude, Kirk Cousins is such a wait till we get to the NFC North because I'm gonna just fucking crush that. But Dak Prescott.
Kirk Cousins looks like the guy that they would get to play Mitt Romney in a movie about Barack Obama. That's what Kirk Cousins looks like.
Like he is like, I'm sure like his wife doesn't even know he's an NFL quarterback. Like she just knows he disappears on Sundays and then he comes back and cuts the grass. Like that's all she knows. Dak Prescott is only, I think he's like, if Kirk Cousins is like the diet water, then Dak is like 0 calorie. That's the next. He's not going to win you any Super Bowls, but he's not going to lose you a lot of games. Kirk Cousins is going to go 8-7-1. Dak will go 12-4, but you're not going to win shit in the playoffs. So
how the hell did he get paid? God damn it! How the hell did he get
Kirk
paid?
Cousins, dude. I'm not even like. Minnesota fans need to be fucking
white
rioting.
privilege. White privilege.
They need to be rioting for 84 million guaranteed.
They would riot if it wasn't so goddamn cold up there.
I mean, and then watch that video of Kirk Cousins trying to tell Adam Thielen how to run a route.
I mean, you and I are familiar with that. I don't know if Jeremy's seen that shit, but yeah, Jeremy, if you want to be irritated for about 2 minutes, just go watch that because
I was irritated for a whole 20 minutes just thinking about dude, you're trying to tell a Pro Bowl receiver how to run a route and you're Kirk Cousins. Goddamn, dude.
Oh, Lord. Okay, I read both you guys loud and clear. Roy, your level of doubt around Philadelphia is pretty well established even after they hoisted the trophy, and I get why. However, I'm going to make a little bit of a parallel that's probably going to knock you on your ass. Shit. Think of the high-flying 2016 Falcons offense and the 2017 offense that, albeit not terrible, obviously they got to the playoffs, just wasn't quite as spicy, wasn't quite as explosive. And you and many others correctly attributed that to the discrepancy in play calling between Shanahan and Sark. For me, looking at Carson Wentz in the Eagles' offensive system last year, he wasn't terrible, but he was not the gunslinger that he was the year before. I attribute that to Frank Reich going to coach the Colts and Mike Groh stepping in as the offensive coordinator. Now, towards the end of the season under Foles, yes, Peterson did step in to call some of the plays, but I think that transition in terms of what those two guys want to run, to say it would take 2 years, 3 years, I don't think would be unreasonable because you got to remember, Wentz has only been in the league for 3 years. He's still a kid. So I feel like a second year and, God willing, a full healthy 16 games, he can get much more into form. And two, you have the safety blanket of Zach Ertz, who I would contend is the best tight end in the league. I put him above Kelsey. I put him above Njoku and a handful of others. 3, Deshaun Jackson can still get downfield like that.
Mm-hmm.
At 30, I think he's like my age. He's like 32, 33. He can still burn people. If he can do that with Fitzmagic and he can't do it with Wentz, something is very wrong. Now, as far as the Cowboys go, I mean, obviously, you guys know how obsessed I am with defense. I love defense, and their unit is top to bottom is really good. Byron Jones, in terms of young corners, he's probably top 3. In terms of corners in general, he's probably easily top 10, arguably top 5. Like, he is an outstanding corner. He reminds me of Gilmore, of Pat Peterson. He just has good instinctiveness, and he has good size too. He's not 5'9.5". The Giants, I have this feeling of almost feeling bad for Eli Manning because it's almost like he's in a. Granted, I know he's not. David, don't text me when you see the shit. It's almost like he's in a situation where he's not allowed to bow out gracefully. Like, it's being dragged on further than it should be, which is a shame because this guy's career, albeit he's had some kind of, I guess, silly, for lack of a better term, moments, he's had some fucking legendary moments too. And as far as the team coached by the other Gruden, yes, Roy, he is coaching for his job. And it's going to be real awkward when he gets fucking fired because they aren't going to do shit.
I honestly, I believe he may be one of the first ones gone. I don't think he makes it to midseason.
Would you say your over-under is 8 games, 10 games?
Yeah, I would say definitely under 10. I think by midseason, I'm not super familiar with what their schedule is for this year. But
I mean, they play the AFC East, so they got to play New England. That's an L. I'd argue the Jets is probably an L too with Darnold and Jamal Adams and those young talent they got out there. It ain't a cakewalk. It's really not.
Let's see. They start at Philadelphia. Their first 3 games: Philadelphia, Dallas, Chicago.
That's 3 L's.
And then they play at the Giants, Patriots, at Dolphins, San Francisco, Minnesota, at Buffalo.
That's smelling like a good 4-12.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even to the back half where they, of course, I mean, the Jets, Lions for the week 11 and 12, at Carolina, at Green Bay in December, Philadelphia, Giants, Cowboys. They have 3 division games to end the year.
If Cam's arm doesn't fall off, he's going to give them the work too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the Redskins are, and they've on top of that, they just cut their leading tackler from a year ago, and now their left tackle, franchise bookend left tackle, is demanding a trade because
Trent Williams, he wants out of there.
Yeah, so
because he knows he smells the bullshit.
Yeah,
like,
Haskins is going to be running for his life.
Fucking,
if I'm Snyder, I don't let Haskins see the field. Like, fuck that. Don't.
Yeah. I'm not going to put my asset out there to get fucking killed by Fletcher Cox.
Yeah, damn that.
Yeah. No, a lot of spicy stuff potentially with these 2 divisions. Not just within division, but also when they play other teams. That Eagles-Patriots rematch is going to be box office. Those Rams-Seahawks matchups are going to be box office.
TFB.
Yeah.
FB.
Are you finished?
Tom fucking Brady. Just Tom fucking Brady.
Okay.
Man.
Why don't you have a stuffed animal of him instead of Mario back there?
Well, I don't want to make you guys too jealous.
He's got that one sitting on.
You already have to see him in your nightmares every night.
He's got that one sitting next to his pillow.
I don't want to make you guys
whose nightmares?
Yours.
Jeremy, you really are bad at keeping up and paying attention to your team, bro. Kawhi Leonard is in my fucking nightmares. Give a fuck about Brady's old ass.
Hey, listen to me. All right, you do have a few championships in the last few years to offset that pain with the Warriors, even though they were cheap championships. But hey, they were championships, right? You don't have.
Oh, he's trying to pick a fight.
You don't have a whole lot to go on with your Raiders ever since my boy Brady ripped y'all's heart out. Y'all, what have y'all done since? What have y'all done? What have y'all done, huh?
Oh, I'm sorry, peasant Magic fan. Were you saying something? Were you speaking? Exactly. Shut the fuck up.
I mean, hey, if we go and just get every good player possible, if we can create super teams like you get into Golden State.
If you could draft worth a damn.
LeBron beat our 73-win team. KD, come save us.
If you could draft worth a damn.
Come save us. You know what?
Orlando, Alabama before Nick Saban wasn't good enough.
Here's the problem with Orlando. Every time they drafted a player, fucking hated him. Hated Gilbert Arenas. Hated Dwight. I mean, I'm not the only person. I think I was the first person that hated Dwight Howard, though. Like, finally, the world has caught on to Dwight Howard. Like, I hated him. I don't care if he took
I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you for bringing up Dwight Howard for reasons that have nothing to do with basketball.
Dude, he's messed up. Anyway, I don't want to get into it.
Yeah, I don't either. Oh boy. But yeah, it's been fun tonight, fellas. Obviously, we're just kind of getting our feet wet.
Band's back together.
Revving up the engine because we're going to be going hard. As Jeremy has told you, as Roy's told you, we have a lot of plans for aggressive expansion, as the Joker said.
I like
it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Do we have any shout outs? I am obligated to give the floor to Jeremy first, since we don't see him a whole lot, but he's going to be around more often.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be around a lot more. Just shout out to everybody who's been supportive of the decision for us to expand Sports Wars. We're taking the next step. It's going to take a little while to get our feet underneath us, but we're going to definitely get there. We've got a lot of good ideas. We've got a lot of good people. We're putting some resources into that, and I'm looking forward to the next step. A lot of things we can't necessarily share in detail right now, but you're going to see it. You're going to see it
hint,
firsthand.
More black people are coming.
Yeah, we're going to have more black people. And it's not because it's kind of like a diversity hire. I'm just trying, everybody calls me racist. So I just don't want, let me put more black people on the staff. That way they don't call me racist. And I can't fire them. So they're here. You know what I mean? Because if I do fire them, then I'm really racist. So it's kind of like I'm fucked, But welcome to Death Row. Anyway, all
right.
Videos, dancing in the videos. All right. Anyway, but yeah, looking forward to the future of Sports Wars. It's going to be awesome, and looking forward to a lot of shit talking. That's it.
As always,
more black people.
Roy,
you know how I like to go with my shitty shout outs, and the state of Louisiana kind of provided it for me this evening about an hour before we decided to record the show. Apparently, there is a Louisiana judge who has subpoenaed Roger Goodell and 3 of the officials from the NFC title game to testify under oath, to basically admit what they've already admitted, that it was a fuck up. It was a blown call. Goodell's admitted it. The refs have admitted it. The NFL has changed rules for you bitch-ass, whiny-ass New Orleans Saints fans who a week before the Super Bowl were like, let's play the game again. Shut the fuck up. It's 6 months later, and y'all are still fucking whining, and now you're wasting taxpayer money. Just throw away the whole fan base, the whole state, the whole team. Just throw the whole fucking thing away. Let's start from scratch. Jesus, what the fuck? Like, I'm feeling this a little more than usual because I'm a Falcons fan. But we are now taking applications for the Fuck the Saints train. So if you want to jump on that, there's no dues. There's no fees to be paid.
All aboard.
Hashtag Fuck the Saints. Whiny bullshit again. Still continuing. They're going to be bitching about this when they miss the playoffs this year.
And on that note, something that you find folks in our audience are going to be hearing a lot more from me as time goes on. New Orleans Saints fans organization Ephemera and Jeremy Lin quit acting like virgins. That's all we got for you guys tonight. We'll catch you all later. Like, comment, subscribe, and more is coming.
As always, fuck Tom Brady.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy from geeksandgamers.com, and if you're a fan of Geeks and Gamers, please go to our website, visit our merchandise store. We have t-shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, tank tops, and in the very near future, we're going to have many more products for you to choose from. So thank you for the support. We appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.